Hello, I'm Pamela Davis. Welcome to episode 176 of the Well Done Life podcast. Hello, and welcome back to episode 176. I'm your host, Pamela Davis. If you are new here, hey, how are you? Welcome. I hope you will stay for a very long time. If you've been here before, you guys know the deal. I love you deep. Thank you so much for sticking with me. Thank you guys for your support. I wouldn't be at 176 episodes without you, so thank you, thank you, thank you. Before we get started into this week's episode, it's really important for me to be foundational. I know I probably sound like a broken record, but I really feel like every episode needs to be opened up to explain exactly what we're doing here. So it is really important that we really lay this foundation right because we're creating a safe space. So my foundation is built on two very important tenets, and that is clarity and love. Clarity is really straightforward. I created the Well Done Life brand because I believe that women are the foundation of society. I really do feel that way. I feel like women, we pretty much are keeping this thing going, obviously for everyone, including men. We love men too, but we're the ones getting a lot of things done behind the scenes a lot of times and in front of the scenes, thank goodness. And so I want to make sure that we are creating spaces where as women, we can come together, we can share our stories, we can laugh, we can cry, we can be inspired by each other, and just continue to pour into each other because we need that. We need that in order to keep going, to keep elevating, to keep growing, and to keep healing. So that is why I do what I do. I truly believe that each of us are the experts that we are looking for. I really do think that God gave us all the gifts that we need in order to do amazing things in the world. We just have to decide to tap into it. And sometimes we need a motivation to tap into it. And so hopefully I will be a motivation for you to tap into your gifts, your God-given gifts. And I hope that you will, be motivated to share your story because there is some woman in your life that you don't know or someone that you have not even met yet who would be inspired by all that you have gone through. And you would be inspired by them, vice versa. And it just creates this wonderful, beautiful cycle. So welcome to the Well Done Life. And I hope you will share and stay for a very long time. And then that leads me into my second foundation, which is one of my favorite foundations of all time because I love love and I'm a sucker for love. And so one of the ways that I believe that I know how to show love or that I show love to people is through prayers. And I truly believe that when two or more people come together, our prayers are magnified. So I like to make sure that I share prayers with you every week. And so kind of starting it out, this week, I'm starting out actually with the prayer of clarity. I really think with everything kind of moving so quickly in this first month of the year, that it is very important that we surround ourselves in clarity because like I said, things are moving quickly and sometimes in quickness, it is very easy for things to get unclear, for messages to get missed or for words to be misconstrued, especially since we live in such a digital age, social age. We really don't talk to each other sometimes the way we need to talk to each other. So I am sending, like I said, prayers of clarity for you that anything that you encounter in your journey this month, that in this week, that you are surrounded in clarity, that it makes sense, that you can see the road, that you can see the details. And for anything that you are not able to see the details, because sometimes that occurs as well, that the details will be revealed to you at a time in which it is optimal for you to make the best possible decision. Because I truly believe that is another wonderful, wonderful benefit of clarity, the fact that you will be able to make decisions from a more optimal position. And when you are under sometimes systems of stress or maybe your emotions are feeling low, it is very easy for us not to have the clear picture and for us to make decisions that are just not good. And I don't want that for you. I really am praying that for you. And if you do happen to fall into a situation where your decision making just wasn't where you thought it should be and it did result in a consequence, I am also praying that you will have the clarity to be able to see the path forward and through it, because we are at that season of our lives where we don't run from anything. What you run from is going to be there waiting for you. We walk through it. And sometimes the best way to walk through something is to have knowledge of it, to have clear understanding of your path, and then you can keep going. So I am praying that you will have clarity for any obstacles that you may encounter, that you can see a clear path forward, and that you are able to move through. And, along that lines with clarity, because clarity can be kind of tough sometimes, seeing the trueness of people, the situations, or even ourselves can make it, hard for us to kind of move, because you get into your emotions and you're not able to go forward. But I'm also praying along that line that you have empathy. And I truly believe empathy is really on short supply, unfortunately. And I don't really think something intentionally that we do. I just think that as we get caught up in the cycle of life and our own stuff, it's very easy sometimes to forget to be empathetic to people or to yourself. And so I am praying that you are surrounded in prayers of empathy, that you are able to be a vessel for empathy to people in your life who need it, or even to be able to speak into yourself with a loving word, an empathetic word, so that you will be able to go forward, because it's essential when you're on the healing journey. It's essential when you're out here living, because life is doing its thing. Life be lifing. And so sometimes you just have to give yourself grace. You have to give yourself empathy and understand that you are doing the very best that you can. Like I told you, even if it's 10%, if that's all you got to give today, then it was good enough. So you need to be able to make sure that you allow yourself the space to be able to cultivate that type of energy, because it's healing and it's nourishing. And I want that for you. And along that line, while we are also talking about clarity and empathy, I'm also sending you a prayer of stillness. I really do. I want you to be able to get still in this time. Steal a moment or two. If you have to go for a walk, if you have to work out to get a little stillness because it's just you in that particular scenario, I want you to have it, because stillness is key to clarity. You can't get still if you can't get clarity if you're on the move. You got to sometimes sit down. And like I was telling you guys before the holidays, I really found peace and stillness in just sitting in a chair for 5 hours, getting up long enough just to grab something to eat and get something to drink and sit my butt back in that chair. It was just that I needed at that point, because I had so many thoughts flowing through my mind and I was starting to feel overwhelmed and anxious. But sitting in that chair for a few hours, just looking out at a waterfall, it just gave me peace. It helped me recenter myself. And I'm not saying that everybody has to sit in a space in a hotel and look at a waterfall, because that's obviously not realistic for everyone. But it's funny, I was today on social media in between my meetings, and one influencer that I love, Naturally Glam TV, she was posting this meme that she created with Cat Williams from the Shannon Sharp interview. And I haven't seen the full interview, but I've seen enough clips to know it was hilarious. But essentially, I guess, it was just being in there, and the title of it was just, this was like her sitting in her car, for an hour before going into her house. And I totally could relate, and I'm sure you guys could. It's just being able to find the stillness sometimes of just sitting in your car in the garage for like an hour. Yes, they know that you're going to come inside. Yes, they know that you're here, but you will get out when you want to, but you just need this hour. I know for myself, I've sat in parking lots sometimes and done that, just because, again, you need that moment of stillness. And don't you feel recharged in that moment? I know I feel recharged, especially if I have a good snack. I'm totally recharged because I have the music playing the way I want to play it. My air condition is set the way that I want it to be set, and I am eating the snack that I need, but I'm not doing anything, and I'm happy, and I'm recalibrating myself. Imagine creating multiple moments like that for yourself. That's what I'm talking about, even if it doesn't involve sitting in your car, but just being able to create a space where you can get quiet, where you can do something that you love, where you can pour into yourself. It is essential in order for you to be able to move to the next level, in order for you to be able to have the clarity that you need to be able to move forward, to be able to give yourself grace and empathy for the things that may be troubling you so that you can move forward. It is important for you to have stillness. So I hope that you will have moments of stillness regardless of how they look. Even like I said, sitting in a chair or sitting in your car, just make sure you grab some time for you. And then kind of rounding out the prayers, like I mentioned in last week's episode, I'm always going to pray abundance for you. Like I really do want you to be abundant in your spirit. I want you to be abundant financially. I do want you to, have as many blessings as you possibly can because you can be a blessing to other people. So I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that. But essentially, those are my prayers for you guys this week. And I hope you can feel them because believe me, I love you deep. I truly do. So I am recording. It is now actually Friday. It is Friday, January the 12th at 12:15 a.m. Yes, your girl is up early doing this. And I'm really glad just because I was kind of struggling a little bit just getting the intro and everything together. But I think we're good this time and we are moving forward. So I'm really glad. And I want to thank everybody for their love and support of last week's episode 175, Limiting Limits. And essentially, if you haven't had a chance to check out that episode, I'm going to link it in the show notes. But it really is really my conversation about my discovery that, I have some limits that I need to unblock in myself going into this new year. And one of my goals was to go to therapy, and I am making that goal come true. I'm going back to therapy. And let me preface that because every time you say that therapy word, I know folks get concerned, but I want to make sure I'm very clear. I'm really emotionally in a very good place. I really do feel awesome. I feel blessed. I am surrounded in love and good energy, and it is busy and chaotic, but I still am managing it. It's just going to therapy for me really is about, like I said, unlocking the areas of my life that keep me limited, because when I get in situations where, things are going great and things are coming together and I see the dream coming to life, I start to get nervous. I start to doubt. I start to have fears. And yes, I do speak to my fear, but it is to the point in some instances that I become paralyzed. And don't get me wrong, I'm not paralyzed to the point where it won't get done, but it doesn't get done in a timely fashion, which creates other challenges and issues because of my lack of movement. And I just don't want to do that. I really feel like at this time of my life where I am in this season of expansion and unshakable faith and being audacious, I'm being audacious before God and asking boldly for help in the sense that I know that I want to build with the people that I love. I want to help people. I want to do more. And so, yes, I'm doing the reset on April the 20th, my event here that will be going on sale soon. But at the same time, I also am battling my mind. I'm battling the fear, like, am I good enough? Is this something that I should be doing? And, I know that I'm good enough. I know that this is what I'm meant to do. God placed it in my heart and in my spirit. So it also is just kind of one of those times where God placed in my heart and my spirit that, maybe it's okay. It's time for you to go back to therapy so that you can unlock the things that are limiting you, because I want to be limitless in my emotions and my thoughts and my perceptions of my capabilities. And so it kind of talks about that journey and how maybe sometimes we need that in our lives. We need to seek outside counsel who challenge us and push us to be our better selves or get clear about the things that we are working with. And so I will be talking more about that journey as it comes. But like I said, I really want to thank everybody for their support of episode 175, Limiting Limits. And if you are in a season where you're worried about your limits or you're thinking about, are you really pushing hard enough? You might want to check out that episode. But this week, I am very excited about having a guest. Yes, the first guest of 2024 is here, and her name is Lauren Moses, and she is a mentor and coach. And she and I had a really good conversation in regards to how she is becoming. She has the owner also of the Becoming Academy, which is for her mentorships for coaching students. And so I'm really excited to welcome her. And so I want to, ask you to grab a cup of water, tea, wine, whatever you need, whatever floats your boat, to sit back and relax. And Lauren will be with you in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello to the Well Done family. Thank you so much for having me. Like she said, I am Lauren Moses, the founder of Becoming Academy, which is a one-on-one coaching service where we provide time management and productivity coaching, entrepreneurs, early career professionals and students. Before getting to coaching, though, I was an athlete, Division I athlete. So a lot of my roots, a lot of my wisdom comes from my time as being a student athlete for the majority of my very young life.
Well, I'm definitely excited to hear about it. And I love the fact that you're transitioning from being an athlete into coaching. And it's funny, my first question to you is, when was the moment in your life that you knew you were becoming?
Man, I think it wasn't until I gave my life to Christ, really. I think throughout my life, I've always had a relationship with God. However, I wasn't really growing spiritually at all. I was going to him when things were looking bad, right? All the time. And so when I realized I was becoming is when I took myself out of that God category. Honestly, it was self-righteousness that I was dealing with a lot of times. And so when I was able to fully surrender and submit is when I realized that I was walking into and becoming the woman that he had designed for me in my mother's womb. And so I tell that story to a lot of my clients because, until we're able to see ourselves from a different perspective is really when we're going to be able to say yes to the change that needs to happen within.
And I could totally see that. And I agree. I think, identifying your walk with Christ and working on your spiritual side, it is so life-changing, not necessarily just because of obviously having that extra level of awareness and openness to God, but it just really forces you to look at yourself and see the areas of yourself that you may need to heal, that you may need to focus on. And was that becoming point during your time of being an athlete, or was it after that season?
It was after my season of being an athlete, actually. After I played at the University of Virginia, I went on to University of Maryland, where I got my master's in journalism. And so it wasn't until actually years after getting my master's and being in my career as a sports journalist to where I realized that, the adulthood that I was rushing to get to wasn't so cute. It was not as cute or cracked up as what I thought it was. And I was doing a lot in my own understanding. And so it was 2023, the beginning of 2023, last year, to where I was able to come into becoming who God created me to be. And when I tell you I dove in, so little bit of backstory. I am someone who, when I believe in something, I go headfirst into it. And so that has been my journey, not only in my relationship with God, but also in my entrepreneurial business as well. And so I've dove head in and not really knowing what I was getting myself into, but being received in the way that I embody this business, right? Like beyond just the business portion, time management and productivity was drilled into me at a very young age because all I wanted to do was play basketball. But my parents were like, you can't play basketball if your grades aren't good. You can't be a good teammate if you're not a good person, and so on and so on.
Oh, wow. And that I'm definitely going to go back to that because obviously that structure sounds like it kind of helped tee you up for being where you are now and being able to instruct people. But like you said, adulting is ghetto. Let's just be honest. It is. I'm 50 and it gets even more ghetto as you get older. So enjoy the time of ghetto-ness that you have because it's levels to this.
Oh, goodness.
It really is. But I love how you said that you kind of go headfirst into it. And that kind of, I think, is a good tee up for then. When you were like becoming a student athlete, did you always know when you were young that you wanted to play basketball, or was that just, something you kind of fell into? How did you decide to go all in there?
I come from a sports background in my family. My dad played sports, basketball and football. He played football. He was a walk-on for the Giants back in the day. My brother played football, basketball, hockey, baseball, every sport that you can think of in high school. And then he chose to continue playing football in college and went on to the NFL and played about 5 to 6 years. So being an athlete was kind of in my blood. And I was also always the tallest girl in my every single class. And so I kind of knew that was going to be the route that I took in regards to getting to college. And that was going to be the thing that got me in the door. And then it was up to me to kind of figure out my paths from there. So as an athlete, it was kind of in my blood. And then I did genuinely want to do it too. It provided so many opportunities. I was able to experience so many places even before I even left high school, from being able to travel to different places, meet different people, see successful players and athletes and female athletes, which at the time weren't televised. So we were seeking out opportunities, going to games, going to events where they may be, even just to meet them, just to shake hands with them, just to be encouraged by them even. And so my parents did an awesome job by allowing me to see the diversity of what can happen when you are an athlete.
Right. And I love that because, I mean, obviously going up in that structure, you are encouraged just to be who you are. And again, and just go out here and perform, which I do think about, you know, especially as being an entrepreneur, you got to get it in the mud. Like you said, it's tough. So you got that grit from your experiences that kind of built you to where you are now. But then looking at where you are now and where you've become, what is one of the biggest lessons that you've learned since you are newer to this journey? What is one of the biggest things that you've learned so far?
One of the biggest lessons that I've learned is to be true to myself, to not compare myself as hard as that is, especially in the landscape of social media, when you are creating a social media strategy, all of those things, right? We're looking at competitors. We're looking at what other people in our field is doing. And that's probably the hardest thing for me as a new entrepreneur, specifically as an entrepreneur who didn't think she was going to be an entrepreneur. I just thought I was going to acquire this knowledge for my personal life, and being led in the route to begin a business and to help others who run businesses. Like, again, this did not come from my own mind. It came from what I believe the Heavenly Father was telling me to do. And man, I tell you, the biggest thing is like getting out of the complex of I didn't think this was going to happen. So how do I then put a plan in place? And so it's to dive in within. What am I good at? What am I innately good at? What are the things that I need to improve on? And how can I seek out opportunities to do so, right? Like now I'm in a milestone program, continuing my education in entrepreneurship, because I now that I have a business, you're not just an entrepreneur because you have a business. Like you have to know the landscape. You have to know how to move and network and pitch even. And so these are the things that I'm continuing to learn, because I went to University of Virginia, where one of our slogans was, you never stop learning. We call each other first year, second year, third year, fifth year, seventh. Like you can continue as you continue to learn. And I think that is something that I hold on to every time that I step into a room, because I'm looking for an opportunity to learn.
I love that. And I was going to say, I think, do you attribute that kind of mindset to your athletic background?
I probably would. Because we don't know everything. We don't know everything that's going on the court. You're always kind of relying and leaning on your teammate. And I think I'm more team focused. And so when people are in my circle, I kind of visualize them as a team, and I smile while saying this because I'm currently on a content series where I am pointing out, specific positions in the basketball game that can also be a part of your team and your personal life. And so, that was an interesting question, just because I'm currently in that space of trying to create the line.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I have a really close friend who is a former athlete as well, and very competitive, and she, very results driven. But I think a lot of times, and I've told her, I said, the key to your success, to me, I think, is your team-based approach. The fact that you can look at things so strategically from that standpoint. So I was curious how, maybe strategy and having that type of background has been able to support you.
And I think the best part of having a team is like, it's not all on you, right? Like it's a group effort. And I think when you are an entrepreneur, and you're specifically for me in the early stages of being one, you don't really have a team. However, there are people who are strategically placed in your life for a reason. And so being able to reach out to them, seek wise counsel, throw ideas off of them, and especially if they are entrepreneurs, right? Like they might have experienced something that you haven't even gone through yet, and they may be able to share some of that wisdom with you. And so I definitely see people in my life who are placed strategically as my team, as my circle, and I do not take that lightly at all.
Oh yeah, it is something that is super powerful, and it's one of the things that I'm focusing on this year with the podcast, and because I see it in my life. It is very important to build community. And I think as adults, it gets more challenging for us to build community because, life is lifing, and we've had hurts and disappointments and fears that we will use to hold us back. And so for like yourself, someone who is coaching, who has that team-based mentality, and obviously we'll talk more about how you structure and work with clients, but what is one thing that you would tell somebody, or one thing that you've adopted for yourself to help make sure that you constantly stay in that mindset to build community and connect with others like that?
Yeah, I think it's balance. Balance and boundaries are my favorite two B words, because I think we're always seeking balance. We're always seeking some sort of peace, right? In any area of your life, right? Whether it's your physical health, mental health, emotional, spiritual, you're seeking some type of balance, and it requires boundaries. And so I think when we are building communities, when we are setting up who's going to be in our circle, who's going to be in our team, it takes us understanding what balance looks like in our personal lives. And it's hard, right? When you might not come from balance, you might not know what that looks like. And so that's why we sit down, we talk about what you envision balance to look like. I do a lot of visual coaching to try to help clients understand, or help them even get the words out of what it looks like, what it could look like for them to just feel like they are well balanced. And when I talk about boundaries, it's, some people got to get left. Some people may not be able to go where you're going, but you won't know that until you understand what that looks like for you. And so that's why I always kind of couple balance and boundaries. And even in coaching, I couple a lot of things together because it helps us complete tasks, not just start them, but complete them because they're tied to something else.
Oh, I love that, because it is very easy. And myself, I struggle with that sometimes, like as well. Like I have ideas about things that I need to accomplish, but you get distracted, or I'll be honest, you just get in your head about it and you just can't move forward. And so it's just so important to, limit those limits inside of yourself. What's one technique that you could share with people right now that they could do to help them like take some of those limits off and try to seek balance?
Yeah, I would say debriefing your day. I think that is an untapped skill. I don't know if it's even a skill. It's just an untapped practice, I should say. Debriefing your day. I think when we come home from our day, we like to relax and not think about what just happened.
Right.
But that doesn't really set us up for success in the future or for the next day even, right? Like we're not even looking too far down the line. But when we debrief our day, we're actually able to assess how things are going. Right. We're able to assess when our focus shifts. Like you were just saying that sometimes you're starting something and then, like something else comes up even, like, right. Like if you're a parent, oh my goodness, your kids come in the room and everything goes out the window.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if we were able to assess our day, we're able to find a routine of when our focus shifts. Do we get hungry at a certain point in the day that we may use as an excuse to stop doing a certain task? Are we hitting a slump at a specific time? Are we blocking out enough time for a particular task? Because sometimes we also forget how long something takes to actually complete. And then just locking in on that focus time. When you have the time to focus, when you have the time that you're like, oh, in the morning, for me, this morning time, I'm very creative in the morning for some reason. Yeah. After 4 p.m., I need to be doing administrative work at that point. So when you're able to debrief your day and to really take a hard look at the different points of your day is really when you're able to kind of find where that balance takes place and where you can begin to see more productivity.
I like that. And I have to admit that is one of the things that I know for myself, trying to work on. like morning routine, evening routine, just so, like you said, you can kind of debrief and give yourself grace. I think when you are recounting the day, because a lot of times, we beat ourselves up. We're our harshest critic. And really, it's not about that in the debrief. It should be really just an assessment of how it went and what you need to do for tomorrow versus that,
And assessments are so good. Like, I think when people think of assessments, they think of, oh, it's just a worksheet. I'm answering questions.
Right.
No, it is so good, like for self-awareness. And I think even people don't talk about self-awareness enough either, right? We, like you said, we are hard on ourselves. We do see things negative sometimes before we're able to see it for the positive because we can't see into the future. And so when things happen to us, we have an initial reaction. But when we're able to debrief our day, we're able to go back to the root. What was the initial thing that got me out of focus today? What was the initial thing that made me have a bad day? And that's when we're able to begin to make changes because we're not self-aware enough to actually make the change. We just see the end result that didn't turn out the way we had planned, but we don't go back to the root.
Agreed. And it is so important to do that. And I feel like that's one thing that I know I try to talk to everyone about. And I know for myself that has been essential is just learning to, I like to try to keep the main thing. I have a friend who's always telling me, he's like, you always keep the main thing. And it's important to me to do it because I've spent a lot of time in my life focusing on everything else. And I didn't address the root. And then you wind up having to repeat cycles over and over again because you're not focusing on the main thing. And so I'm curious for you, especially as someone who, even though you're coming from a sports background, but like you said, you were a journalist, a writer, even though you're a sports writer, how has writing helped you kind of maybe keep the main thing and get to the root of things in your life?
Questions. Like, I am the person that has so many questions. I like to know what it is that I'm being tasked with just in life, right? Like, this is outside of coaching. Just in life, I want to know what is the task? Yes. Why am I doing it? And sometimes those questions do get me in trouble. I'm not even going to hold you. Really? Yes, because I find myself asking a lot of times, why? And I get so stuck on the why that it overwhelms me. I struggle with the fear of the unknown, and I'm even hesitate to say struggle because I am still overcoming. But it does hold me back sometimes, wanting to know why I'm doing things. And instead of having a fearless approach to things of the unknown, I find myself going into it timidly and not putting my all into it. And then I'm oftentimes running into issues or shortcuts. I'm taking shortcuts. That's what it is. And it kind of delays the progress.
I understand that. I do. I've had those experiences myself with asking questions. I like to try to say that I'm a naturally curious person, and I am now. But there was a season when I stopped asking. And I really, that was just more tied to where I was mentally at that point, just because I didn't have the energy to ask why. I just needed to kind of get it done. And I think a lot of times, certain points of life can put you in that season where you're just like, look, I would love to know probably, but I just need to get it done. And you're right. Shortcuts come up quick. How do you check in with yourself or your clients to ensure that they are not taking shortcuts to get it done?
Accountability is so big. For myself, I hold myself accountable by my daily journaling. I set intentions that are extremely specific. I think that's something that I had to learn, is that I was kind of just putting blanket statements about things that I wanted to do. Oh, I want to lose weight. Oh, I want to eat healthy. Oh, how am I going to do that? How are you going to do that today, Lauren? And so I think that is where my intentionality comes in with holding my clients accountable in the things that they want, because it comes from them. One, that was something that I learned very early in my education program for coaching is I don't have the answers. I do not have the answers for your life, but I can ask questions that invoke reflection, invoke self-awareness, invoke thought, so that you can create the solutions for yourself. And then once you create them, how can we get as specific as possible? And I think that's the best way to really make sure that you are in alignment with your desires is how are you following through? And if you're not following through, what are the conflicts? What is preventing you from doing that? And how can we rewrite some of these goals?
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that people struggle with the most. Because it's funny, I feel like when you work in corporate America, because we do performance appraisals, we get challenged to write, smart, measurable, actionable, realistic, targeted goals or SMART goals. But we don't have that same kind of approach to our regular lives. It was like we leave work to work and we just leave us to us and kind of forget, like, I hate to say it, living life is like living a job too.
Yeah.
So I love how you were talking about being so targeted with your goals and accountable and holding your clients in that same way. What is one of the biggest challenges that you have seen your clients overcome in regards to accountability and being able to do that?
The biggest thing that I think I can see before they're able to see it, which is so rewarding. Oh, it's so rewarding, is your prioritization. They're able to prioritize things, and it only shows because they're actually completing things. They're actually completing the exercises. And I'm someone that, I love my clients to do exercises, but I'm not creating the exercise. What do you need to accomplish this week? What do you want to grow in this week? What is a point of emphasis for you? So when I am able to see that they are prioritizing their progress, their journey even, that is probably the first thing that I'm able to be like, okay, here we go. This is usually when the change begins to happen. This is when they're able to start seeing their life differently from a different perspective for themselves rather than what I am saying or whatever their parent or a sister or friend may be saying about their specific situation. And then also, I would say rewriting goals. Mm-hmm. Some people don't do that. We don't do it until it's time to rewrite our 2025 goals, right? But we're still sticking with the 2024, even when life happens. Mm-hmm. And life is going to happen. And I am living that now, right? Like life is happening around me. And my goals have had to change. And that's okay. Your intentions are going to change because your capacity changes, and that is okay.
Yes, talk about it. And I love that you said that because I'm a firm believer of that. Like, I love Don Miguel Ruiz and the 4 Agreements. And one of the agreements is about doing your best, with the understanding that doing your best doesn't equal 100%. It could be 10%, but if that's all you got for that day, then just make that 10% solid and be okay with that. Have you ever struggled with that kind of a mindset?
Yes, I have. Oh, the perfection. Oh, Lord, that has definitely choked me a time or two. Mm-hmm. That is something that my sister kind of pointed out to me while I was still an athlete, when I was dealing with a lot of anxiety, a lot of overthinking, late nights, just literally laying in my bed, thinking about things that don't even have anything to do with the next day. And it was just not a fun place to be, right? Like you're just living in your head. And we know that sometimes the thoughts in our head are not our own thoughts. So having the mindset of, man, if I only have 20% today, that's going to be enough. When I have a team that I'm a leader of, like a basketball team, I was a captain of for my final 2 years. I have people who lean on me and expect things of me. And that is something that is so hard to get out of, the mindset of expectations that others have put on you. That is something that takes time. It takes grace, but also it comes back to the balance. What is the balance that's going to help you be and live a productive life? Mm-hmm. Not relying on, not depending on what other people think or have expected from you. But if you are expecting, hey, I got 20% and I'm gonna give all 20, then that's what's gonna have to happen. But it took me practicing that rather than beating myself up about it.
Do you, along that line, because again, I think that that's one thing that a lot of people face because we are our harshest critics. And I really don't think people understand. People do not think about us as much as we think they think about us, not to try to be, mean or anything like that. But I'm just serious because I had to face that as well. I think for me, when I faced it, I kind of classified it as a way of killing my ego. So I understand that it's just not all about me. Like people are not sitting up in here worried about me talking about, my influence, no matter how wonderful and fabulous I am. They are not doing that. And so I think by doing it and staying on top of myself, that has helped me be able to not be so hard. I still struggle because I'm type A. And as a high performing woman yourself, I'm sure you can relate to that. But I was just like wondering, what is like a technique that you have, in your arsenal that you share with people to help them be able to kind of face that and let themselves go from it?
To let go of the expectations?
Yeah, the expectation of others.
Yeah. What are your expectations for yourself? You just got to get back to it's the root. Everything is the root for me. You'll probably learn that quickly by listening to this. It really is, because when we start to just deal with the symptoms, the root is still there. The main issue that led you to the problem that you're facing is still there. So when we think of expectations, what are our insecurities? What are the things that people have told us since we were very young that we have adopted? What is the thing that we've been telling ourselves that we're going to do, but we haven't done it? It starts with self, right? And so the expectations, you're going to feel like people have expectations for you for the rest of your life. Whatever title you have, essentially, there is an expectation for you to show up, right? And then we do add the added pressure of wanting to go above and beyond. And if you a Black lady.
Oh, I know. Good Lord.
It's there, right? But if you can look yourself in the mirror every day and say that I am working towards the expectation I set for myself, I have met the expectation or I have exceeded, then you are doing your job.
Agreed. And I love that positive self-talk, because we need to do that in order sometimes to deal with the root when it's coming up. Because we all know the root. We do. Most of us know what the issue is. We just don't want to face it. So I love how you mentioned like positive self-talk and just try to get yourself through. And I appreciate you sharing so much of your insights of how you work with people. I'm going to ask you a little bit now, because obviously as a coach, who's coaching the coach?
Who's coaching the coach? Ooh, life.
Life is happening.
Yes, life is happening. But I do have a mentor. I have one. God is first and always.
Right.
Because I go to the Word before I go to anyone else. That has never been more true in my life than this year. I think that was something I always strived for, but after this past year and getting in my Word daily, it just keeps me on track, because I'm no longer fighting between the lies and the truth in my head. I know what the truth is because I'm seeking after it. Next would be my mentor. I do have a mentor, Monica McNutt. She is she's a broadcaster. She works on ESPN and she calls and commentates men and women's basketball. And she came into my life when I was in grad school at University of Maryland. She is a great resource, specifically in my career, I would say, of just keeping me level-headed. She had a very unique way to ESPN, and I think it is very inspirational. And she just kind of keeps me level-headed when I may not be getting the responses that I may want from producers, or I'm not hearing back as often. Just in my moments of being discouraged, she's always like, girl, are you doing what you need to do? Okay. Okay, then focus on yourself. I also have spiritual wise counsel, my sister, as well as her spiritual leader, Dominique. And I think I have a team, right? Like it goes back to the team. There are certain people in my life for certain things. My mom is also my best friend. And so I go to her when everything happens, actually.
Mama's always like
But I have learned also that as I grow up and as I become a woman myself, being about to be 27, there are things even that I have to take to God first before I take it to my mom. And like, I'm sure people have friends, right? Like my best friend even was one of those people. I'm like, when things happen, I'm on my phone, like, can you believe that she said, yeah. And I'm like, looking at myself like, what is she going to do about it? She is halfway across the country. She cannot stand up for you. What is it that you really need in this moment? And I think that is what I have been asking myself. How can I fulfill my need right now? How can my need be fulfilled within, not from my mom, my best friend, my sister, my mentor? Because I do think we have it within us, right? And everything that we do, it starts in seed form. It starts with a thought. It starts with an idea. And so when we're able to nurture that is when I have seen in my own life that I'm seeing the fruits actually come to fruition. But it doesn't happen if I'm not watering the seed, right?
I agree.
Yeah.
I love how you have built your team. And I think, again, that goes back kind of like I said, this theme that I'm seeing. And how I kind of equate it is, for me, I'm a little bit more seasoned than 27. And I have gotten to that point, though, in my life where I want to build and make money and help people with the people that I love, like my group, my crew, the people who see the fullness of me. And I commend you at 27 for being able to be open enough to allow people to see the fullness of you, because that is, I think, a big challenge for a lot of us. You can't really build a team until you can get real with the team, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Your representative is not going to help you build the team
at all. And I think you always hear you get out of things what you put into it. But something that I believe is you get out of it what you put into it, not what anyone else is putting into it, right? Like, what are you adding to your relationships? That was something that I had to take a real mean look in the mirror, because I was not being a good friend. And what was my response to that? Oh, just wallowing and not reaching out to people, not loving on people. That was something that I was just, because things were happening in my life. Yeah. So it was, woe is me. I can't get out of my own funk, and I don't want to talk to my friends about it, because all I'm going to do is complain about it. And when I was able to take a really good look at what am I adding? How am I adding any value to my relationships, period? Right. And that will roll over into romantic relationships as well. I was very much optimistic, but also kind of hopeless in romantic relationships. I was seeking things, hoping for the best, but being okay with not the best, being okay with the bare minimum, really. And I realized, wow, my friendships are starting to mimic these things that I'm experiencing in romantic relationships as well. My relationships with my family as well. If I can talk to my cousin or my brother this week, cool. If not, I'll talk to them next week or next month. And it was just okay. And so it wasn't until I got uncomfortable with my relationships looking the same way.
Wow. That's a very, very adult way of looking at it, a very realistic way. Because again, I think about how I was at your age, and I think I was more comfortable going along to get along than standing in the fullness of who I am. And so I really do. I have the utmost of respect
for you at that point.
Now, yeah, I do, because I always say this. I feel like your generation, you guys have it really great, because now you can be who you are. We can talk about the emotions. We can talk about mental health. We can talk about all the things that can limit you from being in the fullness and having the best relationships. So I have the utmost of respect that you were able to do that type of work then, because it's only going to set you up for the future now.
Yeah, thank you. And you know something that you were just saying about, like, we are able to talk about it. And one of the reasons why I was led to begin my coaching business was because we talk about it, but we don't do anything about it. My generation, right? And I am all my friends, I am the person that they come to with a lot of things, right? Like a lot of different things in their life. They even come to my mom. They're like, Miss Trinice, such and such is doing this, and I don't know how to deal with my boss because my mom works in HR, and so she gets a lot, right? But they're also coming to our household in general, and my mom's always like, how is your friend doing? How is this guy doing? Whoever came to talk, right? And I'm like, I guess they're good. They're still kind of dealing with the same thing. And that is what led me to seek out a certification process in coaching, because I didn't feel equipped, especially when they were bringing me things that I had never experienced. But I learned that throughout coaching, again, it's not me that's providing solutions. It is me asking questions, providing resources and assessments for them to be able to come up with the solutions, because I am someone who cannot hear the same complaint more than 2 times. I cannot.
I love that though, because you got to hold people accountable. Like, look, I always used to tell my friends, you got about 60 seconds to sit up in here and complain with me. And then afterwards, I want to know what you're going to do about it. Because you're right. After a while, it gets
What's
old.
the solution?
And you got to challenge each other to do it. So I really do feel like you're at the right path. And I admire the fact that you were saying that your generation doesn't do anything about it, which I kind of can see that a little bit, but I love that. And that's definitely no tea, no shade, because I'm Gen X. So it wasn't like my generation was doing anything about it either. We're all just starting to do stuff about things now, which is great.
Yes.
But people need resources. And the fact that you are so honest about, I'm a coach, but I'm not like, I can't fix you. Like, I can't give you the path, the answer. You gotta get to the work to get there.
Yeah. And I think that's the hardest part about being a coach though, right? Because people sometimes want you to fix their life. And I'm not Ayanla. Okay.
Thank you. I'm glad you said that, because I was going to say, most of us, we're not super sister save a hoe. Like, it's just, I can't save you. Like, I would love to. I'm trying to save myself. So.
Okay. We just started 2024. And yes, we all have plans. We all have goals, but how are you going to get there? No one else is going to get you there. Right. And so, it's not to say that we don't do the work. I think we do progress, and we do have resources to do so. And I just want to be a part of that. I want to be able to lend a helping hand. Like I said, accountability, balance, boundaries. Those are the things that I really have built my company on, as well as service. I want to serve you. How can I serve you? I want to be like Chick-fil-A. My pleasure. Okay.
I love it. And Chick-fil-A never misses, so I respect that. I do. I totally do. I'm so thankful that we got a chance to learn so much about your business and how you got started. I have some random questions as we kind of like wrap up. I always like to ask random questions to people.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay. Since it is 2024, the start of the new year, new you, all that great jazz, do you have like a word or like a mantra or anything going into 2024?
Yes, I do words of the year. I don't do resolutions. My word is sustain.
Sustain. Okay.
Yes.
What does that mean to you?
Yeah. So steady. Last year, my word was becoming, and I think it was very on brand. Yes. I literally live on Becoming Street. I'm not going to tell y'all where I live though, but I live on Becoming Street, right? I have a business, Becoming Academy. And I think all of that is extremely intentional. And so when I was thinking of a word and asking, God for a word, sustain, because I cannot do it on my own. I cannot do it my own strength, my own understanding, nor my own wisdom. And I want to be steady. I want to figure out the best way to be a good steward of what I have. And sustain was the best word that could kind of encapsulate all of that.
I like it. I really do. And I definitely want to watch how that works for you in your life going into 2024, because it is sustaining. Because, a lot of times we're also focused on trying to get to the next thing. And we kind of don't recognize sometimes we're in a season where you just need to maintain, you need to sustain, you need to be steady and learn the lesson and be okay with that. So I'm very excited to see how you work with that.
Yes, it's scary. It's scary telling me to sit still and be still and to wait, but I am embracing this wait. I am.
You have to, because if not, he will sit you down and you don't want to sit down. Believe me, I've had to sit down. Sustain, girl, sustain. You got this.
Thank you. Thank you.
So then that makes me ask you another question. And we talked a little bit about it earlier, and especially now that you're in the season of sustaining. Mm-hmm. Does that scare you? And if it does scare you, do you feel like that fear is going to be a motivator or a deterrent to you in this season of sustaining?
I don't think it scares me anymore. I think, and I don't want to say it doesn't scare me. I think it's scary for sure. I will not allow myself to be led with fear. I rebuke the thought of fear. I do, because there's no room for it. It is not a part of what he has given me or the abilities that he's given me. So I don't claim that over my life. It's only scary because it's change and it's different. Mm-hmm. And I am someone who embraces challenges. So if I'm embracing, challenges that are, I should say tangible challenges, right? Like I have the strength to be able to embrace these intangible. So is it different? Yeah. But I think that I have a good toolkit, a toolbox to be able to overcome and to be victorious.
I love it. And the reason I asked you that question is because, like I said, you feel this pressure, especially in societal norms now, to perform, to get to that next level. And not everybody's in that season of sustaining. Yeah. And because even to me, I'll be honest, I felt the more scary time was in the season of stillness. Because it's like you don't know what's going on, but you just got to sit still. And it can be very challenging, but there's a lot of beautiful growth that I think will happen for you in that time.
And you know what? I think I'm only able to choose that word because he has sat me down since August. He has sat my butt down. Okay. My company that I worked for, the sports company, had layoffs. And my team got let go. And while I'm looking at people around me who I've worked with, people around me who I worship with at church getting new jobs, I have not yet. And so he has sat me down, and it's been a look in the mirror of how can I be a good steward of what I have? Because I can't look around and see what everyone else is doing and be discouraged. Nor do I want even that to motivate me. Honestly, I want what is within me already to motivate me. So that's kind of the context to that response.
Oh no. And I love, like I said, I love that journey for you because I know that great things are coming. In stillness, there is so much peace. There is so much knowledge that is imparted. There is so much skill. Your season is coming. So I'm very excited for you and where you're going to go. I have maybe like 3 more questions for you.
Okay.
One, kind of make one fun question because I always like to ask, what is one song, because I love music, that you feel like is getting you through your season of sustaining?
Ooh, one song. One is so hard. I am definitely in my worship era right now. And so it's Amen, Amen by Ty Bello. I don't know how to say the last name.
I think I know which song you're talking about. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And it's a group, but she's singing. She's the lead singer. And then there's a group. Okay. I'm a huge fan of theirs right now.
Very nice. And I think that that's important because music is like the soundtrack of our lives. So you just have to. Because, when you're in them seasons, that song is on constant repeat. So you got to have it ready to go. Exactly. Totally get it. Okay. And then what is one thing that you would want my audience to know about you that you haven't already said?
That I haven't already said. That I am a work in progress. I think I've kind of said that I don't know it all, right? I already said that before. I very much enjoy learning. And so knowing that I am a work in progress, Pamela is a work in progress, you, whoever is listening, is a work in progress. And I think that being a work in progress doesn't mean that you don't take that step of faith. Doesn't mean that you don't take that job, you don't move to that location. I think being a work of progress is what we will be until our final day, because it's not perfection that we're seeking. It may be success for somebody, it may be freedom for the next, but you being a work in progress will, and believing that you are in progress actually, will help you. And I think that that's, for me, something that I have to remind myself of daily.
What and where and how can we find you and support you? Because now you're part of the Well Done Life family. So we got to support you.
Well Done Life. I'm so glad to be a part of the family. So I do have a website. It is becomingacademy.biz, B-I-Z. And then you can find me on Instagram as well, becomingacademy_.
Awesome. I am so honored that you came and sat with us and told us all the things. This was one of my favorite interviews. This is a great way to end or to begin 2024. Can't believe I'm already trying to put it at the end. No, I need to actually slow up for a hot minute, actually. So I want to thank you again for, like I said, giving us your time, giving us your energy. And I look forward to supporting and following your journey. So thank you.
Likewise. Thank you so much for having me on. And I cannot wait to see all that you do with this community. It's been great so far.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, you're part of the family now, so we'll be checking in, and we probably will have you back at some point too, because I definitely want to, I can't wait to see what sustaining leads you to, because I really feel like there's greatness on the other side of this for you.
You and me both, sister. You and me both.
Hey, we in it together. We gonna touch and agree, sister. Touch and agree. Yes. Great things. So, guys, I want to thank you all for listening. I hope you all have an amazing rest of the weekend. And I will be back next week with another new episode, and we'll talk again soon. Take care of yourselves and each other. Bye-bye.